Welcome to our Module 16 in Intermediate Excel. Now in this video exercise we'll show you how to make pivot table reports. A pivot table report is an interactive way to quickly summarize large amounts of data. We use a pivot table report to analyze numerical data in detail and to answer unanticipated questions about your data. A pivot table report is especially designed for querying large amounts of data in many user-friendly ways. Subtotaling and aggregating numeric data, summarizing data by categories and subcategories, and creating custom calculations and formulas. In this video exercise, we'll look at some advanced pivot tables functionalities and how you can use them in order to analyze large datasets in a working environment. It could be the case where you have a large chunk of data that you want to analyze. The data such as in this example, where we have sales of top 100 retailers globally, and we have their global sales in dollar value. It gets further divided into various continents as well. Now Excel is very interactive, and you have so many options to choose from in order to analyze the data, such as formulas, default functions, data validations, what if, conditional formatting, tables, and so on. And pivot table is one of them. Pivot table is one of Excel's amazing functionality that makes your data set robust, and you can manipulate data according to your need. Let's create a pivot table first, and you can use a shortcut key for that, which is Alt plus T plus P, and you'll invoke a pivot table from here. Alternatively, you can go to Insert tab and hit the pivot table, which is the first option. Here you'll see a very similar screen to what we've seen before or using the shortcut key, but in this screen we have slightly limited options compared to the other screen. Excel will automatically provide you the table range, and you have the option to create the pivot on the existing or a new worksheet. You can also use external data sources, but this is an advanced pivot table option, and we have covered this in our advanced Excel courses. If you want to learn more, you will have to watch those videos as well. Another thing about pivot table is you cannot create a pivot if you have a blank column in your data set. And if you have a title in this, then it will let you create the data in a pivot table. But if you don't have anything in this column, then it will give you an error. So let's delete this blank column and then create a pivot table. I'm going to the pivot table again. Here I would provide you with a new worksheet and hit OK. Whereas in that pivot table option, you have that you can use an existing worksheet, or you can use externally as well. Now we have created a pivot table, and before we go ahead and add data to analyze on a new tab, if you notice, we now have two extra ribbons called Analyze and Design. We'll use these two ribbons in a while. For now, let's understand the screen on the right, which is pivot table field. Here you can see we got some fields, and they are the same fields of our data set, and no matter how many times we manipulate data in any form here, it will not affect anything on our original data set in our sheet 1, which was sheet 11 basically. Now in any pivot table you have four major categories where you can drag any field you like. These are filters, columns, rows, and values. Now let's understand each of those one by one. Now filters in pivot table works exactly the same way we have been using filters functions in our videos. The purpose of this filters button here is that you can define your criteria here. Now using our data set, we used to create pivot tables. Let's say I only want to see top 1 to 10. All I have to do is drag the rank into filter first, then define my criteria later on. We can also open the bar here, and you can see that we have select multiple items. We can click on any one of them, how many we need based on that, and then you can press cancel. So here, as you can see, I've dragged the rank to the filters, and if I click this drop down menu again, obviously I explained that we have selecting we have multiple items here, so you can choose a rank with you can select all of them, or you can just select few of them. Now, best technique in pivot table is select and drag the fields manually. If you check any of the field, by default pivot will think you want this as a value and will assign each one according to its own mind. So the best technique is select and drag to each of these three major categories. It is up to you to determine how you want to see the report. Remember, you can always move fields into filters, rows, and columns anytime, and this will not impact your original data at all. Hence, you have the flexibility here to customize and present your data accordingly. Let's assume your boss wants to see global sales of top 10 retailer in descending order. So what you would do is put the company name on the row level, global sales in values, and rank on filter. This will show all the records at this stage, as we haven't set the filter to show in top 10 yet. Okay, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to press or hit OK. Now see, we have just the 10 rows from 3 to 14. I'll make a selection of top 1 to 10 and hit OK, so you get this data basically. On the filters field, if you use this type of funnel, it means that there are some filters set to the report and it's only showing selective data. Also, if you take a look, this is not in descending order at all. So what we are going to do now is click anywhere on column B, which is the global sales in dollar value, and then go to data tab and hit Z to A in order to set the values in descending order. This is basically set the values in descending order. So if you see, notice here our data is in descending order now. Now this is a functionality of the pivot table. Now there are other pivot table options. It could be the case where sometimes the data may appear as count and it should appear as sum. Not a problem, you can always make changes. Just right click on the column and you'll see list of options. Here you go, value field settings, remove field, and then we can go there. The option comes up as sum. Select value field setting as we did, and you will see a new screen giving you another set of options. From here you can select whether you want to show your data as sum, average, min, max. Min is minimum, max is maximum, and so many other options. Make your selection from here, and you can even do number formatting in order to change the font size, colors, etc. If you go to tab show value as, you will see a drop down list, and you can even convert data into percentage of, let's say, grand total, column total, etc. So there are different values you have there. Now there's a classic pivot view. With the pivot table, if you add multiple columns, it sometimes messes up the view. Now you can see here, it basically it's not making sense here. Remember, the pivot table has a lot of flexibility, so if you do not like this view, not a problem, you can switch it and make it look classic. Right click anywhere with the pivot table and select pivot table options. On the display tab here, you can ensure classic pivot table layout. It's selected and hit OK. Now if you notice, you have 3 columns, but against each line items is showing a subtotal for some reason. So to remove it, right click anywhere on the pivot and uncheck subtotal column. Now you can see your data looks neat, but it's not calculating total for European sales, but it's calculating total for the total column. This is because we had dragged European sales to the rows, not to the values. If you move it to values, it will calculate total for you. So it is important to understand your data set and assign your data accordingly to the right fields. I'm going to explain some pivot data source here. Now, once the pivot table is created, you get 2 additional tabs, but they will only appear if you click anywhere within the pivot tables. If you click outside the pivot table, these tabs will disappear. As you can notice, what I'm doing, when I'm clicking there, it's coming up, and when I'm going out, it's going out as well. Now let's take a look at the first tab, which is Analyze. Let's take a look at Change Data Source option now. If you select this option and select Change Data Source once again, it will take you right back to your data source, which was used to create pivot table. It tells what is the data source basically. Press OK or hit escape button to go back. And we will be back in our pivot table. Now you can also see here the second option, which I was saying is design, and you're getting a lot more designs here, like a lot of them. You can choose any design you want to choose in your pivot table, and you can see our pivot table is changing colors or formats. These are different styles, so you can use any one of them, and that's the basic function of design function. Now we will talk about pivot charts later on as well in our advanced Excel, and we'll see you in the next video.